Okay, thank you for joining me, viewers. Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. I want to do a quick theological audit, I suppose you could call it, on 1919, 100 years ago, from the Watchtower Bible Tract Society's article from the October 2019 edition. We'll start at the beginning and we'll go from there. There's Judge Rutherford himself, and let's have a look.
The Watchtower, Study Edition, October 2019. 1919, 100 years ago. By 1919, the Great War, later known as World War I, which dragged on for over 4 years, had ended. Late in the preceding year, the nations stopped fighting, and on January 18, 1919, the Paris Peace Conference began. One of the achievements of that conference was the Treaty of Versailles, which brought a formal end to the Allies' war with Germany. It was signed on June 28, 1919. The treaty also established a new organization called the League of Nations. Its aim was to promote international cooperation and to achieve international peace and security. Many of Christendom's religions supported the League. The Federal Council of the Churches of Christ in America hailed it as the political expression of the kingdom of God on earth. This council endorsed the League by sending delegates to the Paris Peace Conference. One of those delegates stated that the conference ushered in a new era in the history of the world. A new era was beginning, but it would not be ushered in by the men involved in that peace conference. In 1919, a new era in the preaching work began, when Jehovah energized his people to preach as never before. But first, the Bible students needed a dramatic change in their situation.
Well, isn't that a massive statement, viewers, to think that the Jehovah Witnesses are going to change back in 1919 the whole course of the world, and that the peace conference in Paris had nothing really to do with the new era that was beginning. Now, I've got us a page. 100 years later, major 1919 events mapped out. Now, the Watchtower is saying that a new era began, but it would not be ushered in by the men involved in that peace conference. Well, probably not for the Bible students, but it was for the rest of the world, and we've got to make this clear. The year 1919 occurred exactly 100 years ago. As we look back, we can acknowledge the events that took place in 1919, which had lasting effects even on our lives today. For example, in 1919, the predecessor of the Nazi Party was formed. Moreover, the Treaty of Versailles also brought an end to the World War I. Additionally, the oldest existing airline, Royal Dutch Airlines, was established in 1919, as was the future of prohibition in the United States. Plus, in 1919, the first woman got elected to the British House of Commons. Also worth noting is that the White Sox threw the World Series in 1919. Now, here's a map of some of the things that happened, and here's a record of what happened. Now, we're reading this because the article saying a new era was beginning, but it would not be ushered in by the men involved in that peace conference. How narrow-minded, viewers, how narrow-minded is the Watchtower? It's so narrow-minded. Oh my goodness me. June 1, Alberta, Canada. Earl W. Bascom, rodeo cowboy and artist, along with his father, J.W. Bascom, at Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, designs and makes rodeo's first reverse opening side delivery bucking chute, now the world standard. Well, there you go. These are some of the things. Einstein's theory of general relativity is tested by author Eddington's observation of the bending of light during a total solar eclipse in Principi, and by Andrew Crommelin in Sobral, Brazil. And here's other major things that happened. Let's stop that. In Major League Baseball, the Cincinnati Reds win the World Series 5-3 over the Chicago White Sox, whose players are later found to have lost intentionally. Oh, wow. In December 25, Clifton Stadium in Coatbridge, Scotland, opens as the home of the Albion Rangers Football Club. They lose the opening match 2-1 to St Mirren. In June 18th, the biggest football club in Central America, Liga Deportiva, whatever, is founded. Here we go. In January 18th of 1919, Bentley Motors Limited is founded in England. Date unknown. First book produced using the techniques of surrealist automatism is written, etc. And all these things took place in 1919. Now, what I've done, I've got Christian organisations established in 19. The Baptist Union of Yemenia is an island, and it can tell you. Then we have the Bethany Ashram. The British Israel World Foundation, also known as the British Israel World Foundation, was founded in London on the 3rd of July 1919, although its roots can be traced back to the 19th century. So what we're actually seeing is the Jehovah Witnesses isolating people to only what they've done. Now, we're going to start looking at this man, Rutherford, and see how he actually got into his position in the Watchtower. And I'm sure many of you will be shocked, but many, many things happened in 1919, way outside the organisation of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Now, I want to read you an article. It's from Wikipedia, but that's all right, about the Watchtower Society presidency dispute in 1917. A dispute developed in 1917 within the leadership of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society following the death of the Society president, Charles Taze Russell, and election of legal counsel, Joseph Franklin Rutherford, as his successor. An acrimonious battle ensued between Rutherford and 4 of the Society's 7 directors, who accused him of autocratic behaviour and sought to reduce his powers. Rutherford claimed the dissident directors had formed a conspiracy to seize control of the Society and overcame the challenge by gaining a legal opinion that his 4 opposers had not been legally appointed. He subsequently replaced them with 4 new sympathetic directors. The 4 ousted directors later gained 12 legal opinions that Rutherford's actions were unlawful. Now, this is lovely, isn't it? This is how Rutherford gets into power. The leadership crisis divided the Bible student community and helped contribute to the loss of 1/7 of the Watchtower's adherents by 1919. Now, this is critical information, viewers, because it's not what the Watchtower is telling you here. In 1919, this coup of Rutherford to take over the Watchtower caused a crisis that divided the Bible student community and helped contribute to the loss of 1/7 of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society's membership by 1919. This is Judge Rutherford's coup. Watchtower Society President Charles Tage Russell died on October 31, 1916 in Pampa, Texas during a cross-country preaching trip. On January 6, 1917, Joseph Rutherford, aged 47, was elected president of the Watchtower Society, unopposed at a convention in Pittsburgh. Controversy soon followed. Author Tony Wills claims that nominations were suspended once Rutherford had been nominated, and preventing votes for other candidates. This is a coup, and within months Rutherford felt the need to defend himself against rumours within the Brooklyn Bethel that he had used political methods to secure his election. This is a wicked man, viewers. This is a man bent on taking over this organisation. In the first of a series of pamphlets from opposing sides, Rutherford told the Bible students, "There is no person on earth who can truthfully say that I ever asked them directly or indirectly to vote for me." By June, the dispute surrounding Rutherford's election as president was turning into what he called a storm. And that's from October 1917. Probably from one of their articles, which I won't go to, that ruptured the Watchtower Society and the remainder of 1917. Now remember, they lost 1/7. Viewers, 1/7 of the membership of the Watchtower Society was lost because of this behaviour by Judge Rutherford. In January 1917, Bethel pilgrim Paul S. L. Johnson was an American scholar and pastor, the founder of the Layman's Home Missionary Movement. He authored 17 volumes of religious writings entitled Empathy Studies in the Scriptures and published 2 magazines from about 1918 until his death in 1950. Had been sent to England with orders to inspect the management and finances of the Watchtower Society London Corporation. He dismissed 2 managers of the corporation, seized its funds, and attempted to reorganise the body. Rutherford, who was convinced Johnson was insane and suffering religious delusions, which was unfounded, that was just Rutherford's claim, and this echoes today what they say about apostates being out of their minds and this sort of horrible thing. Ordered his recall to New York in late February, but Johnson refused and claimed he was unanswerable only to the full board of directors. When he finally returned to New York and apologised to the Bethel family for his excesses in London, Johnson became caught up in a move against Rutherford by 4 of the 7 Watchtower Society directors. They didn't want this man to take over the movement. They're not telling you this here. They're saying a new era began, but it would not be ushered in by the men involved in that peace conference. That peace conference changed the world. Anyway, we'll finish this and we'll come back to this. At issue were new bylaws that had been passed in January by both the Pittsburgh Convention and the board of directors, stating that the president would be the executive officer and general manager of the Watchtower Society, giving him full charge of its affairs worldwide. Opinions on the need for the bylaws were sharply divided. Rutherford maintained that Russell, as president, had always acted as the society's manager, and that the January 6th vote by shareholders to approve the bylaws proved they wanted this process to continue under his successor. He claimed it was a matter of efficiency and said the work of the Watchtower Society peculiarly requires the direction of one mind. Bible student Francis McGee, a lawyer and assistant to the New Jersey Attorney General, responded, "This is, then, the crux of the matter." He says he is that one mind. By June, 4 board members, Robert H. Hirsch, Alfred I. Ritchie, Isaac F. Hoskins, and James D. Wright, had decided that they had erred in endorsing Rutherford's powers of management. So they panicked and said this is wrong. They don't want Rutherford in. I'll just see if I can move this without upsetting things. Yeah. Are you enjoying this? Oh, see, we're getting to the truth. Isn't this wonderful? Okay, this is what happened. These are historical events. They claim Rutherford had become autocratic, refusing to open the Watchtower Society's books for scrutiny and denying Johnson a fair hearing over his actions in London. At a board meeting on June 20th, Hirsch presented a resolution to rescind the new bylaws and reclaim the powers of management from the President. But a vote was deferred for a month after strenuous objections by Rutherford. Now this man's on a mission, isn't he? He's not going to let anybody take this away from him. A week later, 4 of the directors requested an immediate board meeting to seek information on the Society's finances, which Rutherford had got his teeth into. Rutherford refused the meeting, later claiming he had by then detected a conspiracy between Johnson and the 4 directors with the aim of seizing control of the Society, as he believed Johnson had attempted to do in Britain. Within weeks, Rutherford gained a legal opinion from the Philadelphia Corporation. I just want to move this over here, we'll make it a little bit prettier. Philadelphia Corporation lawyer that a cause of the Watchtower Society Charter stipulating that its directors were elected for life was contrary to Pennsylvania law, and that all directors were required by law to be re-elected annually, and that's still the same today, at least in Australia. The legal opinion stated that because the January 6 shareholders meeting had elected only 3 men to office, Rutherford, Secretary-Treasurer Van Amberg, and Vice President Andrew N. Pearson, the remaining 4 board members who had joined as early as 1904 and had not faced re-election had no legal status as directors of the Society. Wow, it's falling apart. Even Hirsch, who had been appointed by the board on March 29, 1917, just let me fix that over there. Following the resignation of Henry C. Rockwell, was said to have no legal standing because his appointment had taken place in York rather than Allegheny, and sorry if I haven't pronounced that, as required by law. Rutherford claimed to have known these facts since 1909 and to have conveyed them to Russell on more than one occasion. Oh, this is terrible. On July 12th of 1919, Rutherford travelled this is 1917. Yeah. On July 12th, 1917, Rutherford travelled to Pittsburgh, I'm sure this is 1917, and exercised his right under the Society's charter to fill what he claimed were 4 vacancies on the board, appointing A.H. McMillan and Pennsylvania Bible students W.E. Spill, J.A. Bonnet and George H. Fisher as directors. Rutherford claimed a meeting of the new board on July 17 where the directors passed a resolution expressing hearty approval of the actions of their president and affirming him as the man the Lord has chosen to carry on the work that yet remains to be done. On July 31, he called a meeting of the People's Pulpit Association, a Watchtower Society subsidiary incorporated in New York, to expel Hirsch and Hoskins as directors on the grounds that they were opposing the work of the association. I'd say they were opposing Rutherford. When the resolution failed to gain a majority, Rutherford exercised shareholder proxies provided for the annual meeting in New York the previous January to secure their expulsion. On August 1, the Watchtower Society published a 24-page journal. Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.